Hi, everyone. You're in the ring with Mia St. John. Today, our guests are Tito Ortiz and Frank Shamrock. These guys are two legends in the UFC, and we're going to be talking about retirement and the difficulty that us fighters have when we do have to finally retire. So stay tuned. We have all that and more on In the Ring with Mia St. John. One of our topics today is a very controversial topic, which I got in so much trouble for, and I don't know if you guys remember this. It was to the LA Times. What's his name? Pugmire? Pugmire. Yeah. Yes. He had tweeted something about Canelo being busted for steroids, whatever, and I just chimed. It was just like a fleeting moment that I said, oh, like, what's the big deal? Like, everybody does it, you know? And everyone went nuts. It's like I was bombarded with thousands of tweets. I had the LA Times calling me to get a statement. And so, you know, I felt like caught, like, in this, you know, circus. So I finally just, you know, admitted that, like, look, okay, yes, I did it for a fair amount of fights. And I'm sorry about that, and I regret it. But, you know, like I said back then, it was kind of the thing, like everyone was doing it. And I got so much crap for it. And then Jameel McCline, you know, our heavyweight, who was big in my day, came out and said, yeah, he said everybody, quote, unquote, was doing it. And of course, I didn't mean that everybody was doing it. What I meant was a fair amount of people were doing it. So, and I stand by that. You know, this was the 90s and that was the thing. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about that.
Well, I think Frank was one of the ones that were there before I was there in UFC. And there was guys that did use it, and you saw them in their fights that if they were on it, because they'd gas out super fast. I mean, Mark Coleman, I mean, I'm friends with the guy, so I guess I can't say his name, but when he got kicked in the face by Jeremy Williams or Pete Williams? Pete Williams. And he went takedown after takedown after takedown, and right before the round was over and he got knocked out, he was so gassed out. And that was for a weakness to do the steroid, to me, in my mind. Yeah. And through my whole career, and I've never used it, ever. I mean, I've smoked marijuana, I've drank, that's about it. Right. But I thought it was a weakness in a person that couldn't do it sober, couldn't do it on their own skills and their own technique, because it's hard to train. When I'm training 3 times a day, 6 days a week for 8 weeks, my last fight against Chuck was 18 weeks. Mm-hmm. And be able to do it on your own with your own mental ability, your own strength, and your own, that's honor. That's like, I mean, it's maybe different in boxing, but in MMA, it's a martial art, and I want to be the best martial artist ever. I mean, take after Frank. I've looked up to Frank since the very beginning. I remember going to him before we fought each other, and I had a T-shirt that said Frank Shamrock on it with his picture, and I asked him to sign it for me. And I thought it was a joke, but I was a fan of the guy. The guy was the world champion, and all of a sudden I was fighting him. I mean, a young kid, after only competing a year, and I got a chance to fight Frank Shamrock. I was like, I'm in. How do I do this? I'm in.
Wait, you two fought?
Yeah, we fought each other.
Okay, why didn't I
He's the only Shamrock that beat me. I smashed his brother 3 times. But
right, I was going to say, I knew you fought Ken, but I didn't know you fought Frank.
That's one of my losses on my record. I only lost to the really, really good guys, usually by decision. He's like one of the only guys that stunned me, besides... Yeah, 2 other guys that stopped.
So, Frank, you beat Tito.
Yeah. I did, yes.
How? What? He says that so confident.
He's a cardio machine.
So how? Wow. Yeah. So tell me about that. I have to hear about that.
Well, it's just a different era in the sport. Yeah. Tito was a much larger and very aggressive, you know, it was kind of the new generation of athlete. I was more the older generations, or the old, smaller martial arts guy. But yeah, I mean, we were friends and we had a chance to fight. And then, we fought. My advantage was I understood so much more about vascular training, and my study was way further than Tito's at the time. And so, but Tito took me 4 rounds and almost kicked my ass. And then at the end,
I was killing him for 4 rounds. And then all of a sudden, I was like,
here's the best part. He thinks he was the whole time. And the whole thing was a game. The whole thing was a game. But at the end of the game, he was supposed to fall all dramatic and knocked unconscious with my punches, but it didn't end that way. But what he did was what real martial artists do. He came and learned from me.
Yeah.
And I told him everything. Like, here's what you do. Like, you're a real dude.
Like, literally, like, I think 3 months later after I healed, it took me about a month to heal because we went through a war. I mean, we went through a war.
So how long did it last?
It was 4 rounds. It was 15 seconds left in the 4th round.
4 solid rounds.
And what happened?
I ended up tapping because I remember at the time, Paul Herrera, who fought in the UFC, fought Gary Goodrich, and Gary Goodrich knocked him out unconscious with elbows. And I remember telling my girlfriend, become wife, now ex-wife, that if I was ever in a situation, I didn't know where I was, and I was getting hit like that, and I could tap, I will tap. And
it's the right move, because I was elbowing him in the back of the head with my elbow.
There you go. 2 words. He was illegal. Elbowing me in the back of the head.
It technically wasn't illegal.
Yes, it
just wasn't as legal as we'd like it to be.
John McCarthy liked me down. They didn't like me. They're like, I was a bad boy. They're like, I don't want this kid to win. But it was a good fight. I mean, like I said, I learned so much from it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like literally one of those things where you want to learn from your losses. And that's one of the losses I learned from. And I learned so much from it. It was like, if you can't beat him, join him. So I went up to train with him, and I learned the stuff he did with the heart rate monitor, and that's one of the things that changed my career for sure.
You know what I've always loved about MMA is that you can tap out and there's no shame in that. Whereas boxing, like, you literally have to keep going. Even if you know you're going to die, you're going to suffer brain damage, there's just no tapping out. And I've never liked that about the sport, because we have so many fighters that do end up brain damage. I mean, look at Adonis, who, thank God, now he's okay, he's recovering, but we don't know what his life is going to be. He has to relearn to, talk and walk and all that. So we don't know, like, exactly what's going to happen. But I just feel like we should be given that opportunity, as a fighter.
I think they should take away the standing count. If they took away the standing count, I think it would work a lot better.
Yeah.
If the guy can't defend himself,
it's probably not a good idea. He continues.
Yeah. Right. I think if they took that out, that would help out boxing a lot. But at the same time, if the guy can't defend himself by getting punched, and even if he is on his way down and he does get punched, if he can't defend himself, the fight should be over. That should be done. Yeah. That should be plain and simple. I mean, that's how guys get hurt. I mean, I watched a lot of guys' careers that were over after huge fights. I mean, they weren't the same after. And it's boxing, though. I mean, you got 2 weapons, and it's your fist, and the thing you're aiming at is either the body or the head.
Right.
And MMA, you got so many moves.
Yeah.
So there's so many different things of submissions, takedowns. But once again, we don't have a standing count either. If we hit a guy when he can't defend himself, that fight is stopped.
Right. But I've always thought that MMA was a lot safer than boxing, because there is a lot of time spent, on the ground. Whereas boxing, it's just blow after blow after blow, and usually the majority of them are to the head.
Yes.
And this is day after day. Like
sparring, that's a big part of it. Sparring's a big part of it.
And we always hear about concussions in football, and I'm always like sitting there thinking, wait a second, like, concussions in football. We suffered concussions a lot, on a weekly basis, sparring. And no one ever said anything to us or take time off or that was unheard of. Right. So Frank, what do you think?
Well, I'm a nerd first and foremost. So, I study neuroscience,
right.
I study, biomechanics. I'm like, to me, beating Tito was a mechanical process with my machine, but the experience was to meet another human being, go through something powerful together, and then one of us is going to win, and we're friends. Mm-hmm. So, it was a wonderful experience. But anytime you bump your head and you see stars, you've damaged your brain. And this is what's not communicated to the general public, to sports, to kids, to everything. Anytime you bump your head and you see stars, you've damaged your brain. And I only know this because I sit with neuroscientists and I'm like, guys, what's up with my brain? And please help me. I've been super blessed, and I understood early on, because of my nerdiness, that you can never get hit in the head. Ever.
Right.
Like, it's the worst thing for you. Because the probability that jello shaking around will poke on something really sharp and that you'll damage your brain is like always there.
Right.
So I was taught early on, because I went to Japan and stuff, I was like, you can never damage your brain. You can never damage your computer, because then the rest of it's broken. So, I had an offer to go right into professional boxing with Showtime at the highest level. I went to one boxing match, came back and said, there's no way I can do that. Like, there's no way I'm going to let people hit me in the head like that.
Right.
Because that's crazy.
Right.
And that's what sparring, I mean, I'm 21 years in. I'll be 22 years in. I'm still competing. I'll be competing again this year. But the sparring is something that I've taken down a whole bunch. We used to spar 3 times a week. Now we only do it twice, maybe twice, only once a week. Only once a week.
Right.
Everything is drilling, repetition, footwork, cardio, strength, everything that I need for the fight in general. Just taking the blows, I think you got to at least be able to absorb the effect from them to continue to fight. Because when there's other guys who usually get hit, as Frank was talking about, the lights go off and they're lost. They don't know where they are. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, one more punch and they're dropped until the fight's done.
But we have to keep going, like in between rounds, even though our trainer knows, like we're feeling nauseous, we're seeing stars. That's still no reason to stop. Like, you got to keep going.
That's like Roberto Duran. He said no mas and ruined his career.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said, like, there's such a shame with quitting on your own fight. And who's going to take care of me when I retire? And that was one of our next topics, was because retirement is so difficult for a fighter. I started when I was 6 and turned pro, in my 20s. And so my whole adult life, this is all I've ever done. So when you're faced with retirement, people don't understand, like, how difficult it is. Like, who am I now? And I don't know if I know you're semi-retired, or did you retire after the fight?
I did retire.
After Chuck?
I really didn't retire after Chuck, because I had a question that said if I was going to fight again. I was like, you never know. Maybe. All right. Chuck lit a fire underneath me. And I had a question to Randy Couture. I gave him a call and I asked him, because the guy who I look up to also, and he fought at the age of 43. And I was like, what'd you feel like at the age of 43? What made you keep going? What made you want to go after the world title? He's like, Tito, I felt like I wasn't done. I felt like I was young enough to continue to compete. He goes, how do you feel? I was like, dude, I feel like I'm 30 years old. I feel great. I mean, the stuff that I'm doing for my technology stuff, for hyperbaric chamber and my CVAC machine, things I do for the training makes me recover so much faster. The things I eat, CBD oil is another one. I mean, it has helped my career so much that I'm able to train and go through these 3 days, 6 days a week, 18 weeks of just pushing myself each and every day. But it is the love for the sport, though. I do love it. But then when I talk to him, and he's like, well, if you love it, you think you got it, go for it. And I said, you know what, let's make 2019, let's give it a try. My body's good, everything's right. I went through some serious surgeries that people don't come back after, and I continue to win. So I like it. It's fun. It's nice to be in shape. And the summer's coming around, so nice to be in some good pull shape, you know?
Isn't that great?
At 44 years old, and I can still have like a 30-year-old body is amazing. I'm lucky. I've never stopped training since I've been 15 years old. I started wrestling my freshman year.
It's just in us.
Yes.
But, and that's something I don't think, like, I still work out every single day. But you're fairly young still. And I retired from boxing in 2017. Right, honey? He went to my last fight in New Zealand. And I was like, what? 40? I'm 51 now. I was 49. Yeah. And by that time, I was like, I never wanted to retire. But I remember leaving New Zealand thinking, I am so done. I'm so tired.
I can imagine 6 years from now how my body's going to feel. I remember when I went to go train with Frank, and at that time, I think I was 21, 22. Frank, you're like 27. You're 5 years older than me, right?
Yeah, I'm 46 now.
46 now, yeah. And,
you're still fairly young, too.
I remember going to his house, and in the morning, wake up to go train. I'll prep you to get me getting out of bed, like, I was like, what, you all right, dude? And he's all, just wait. What do you mean, just wait? And he goes, dude, my body hurts so bad. Because at the time he fought in Japan. I mean, I followed the guy's career. I followed how he trained. I was like, I gotta know how this guy trains. I want to know what he's doing different. And everything he was doing was totally different than I was doing. And I was able to adapt that to my training also, because I come from a wrestling background.
Right.
And it worked really, really well for me. I was successful from it.
How did you deal with retirement?
Not so good. I retired the first time just to get out of my UFC contract and to become a free agent. And then I retired the second time because the sport had basically died and there was no money in it. And,
What year was that?
I don't know, I retired the second time in 2001, maybe? Or
Okay,
something.
yeah.
It was just like one of those, wow, there's no money, I'm going to get out retirements. And then when I really retired was after I fought Nick Diaz in 2010 was the official time. But 2009, I gave it up. And I just realized I couldn't, my body had run its course. I couldn't perform at the level I wanted to perform. And I wanted to be just the absolute best. Nothing else got me out of bed. Nothing else got me excited than to try to be the best,
Right.
And unfortunately, it was a time when being the best wasn't that important. Being a good showman, being a good, so I was this weird, time period where I was still the best and it wasn't enough. And so I was like, well, am I going to become somebody else or am I just going to stop?
Right.
I didn't want to perform at a level that was beneath me. So that was really my exit was, it wasn't Nick beating me up. It's just that every time I ever went to flip the switch, I was able to win and do what I prepared my body to do.
Right.
And that night I flipped the switch and just nothing happened.
Right.
And so, to me, that's the sign.
Right.
If you go out to perform and you can't perform, that's your moment to say, wait a minute, maybe it's not my game anymore. And yeah, I went through depression. I went through alcoholism. It was really tough for me because, the only job I ever had was I was a cashier at Payless in 1990. And I went to prison. And I spent my, young years in prison. When I got out, I was 21, 22. I went to Japan and became a fighter. So nothing in my life, I was a prisoner, I was a fighter, I was a cashier. That's the only thing that prepared me for and got me to retirement. So when I retired, I was those three things.
Yeah.
And luckily I had money, luckily I had opportunity and family and people to look after me because, it was hard. I didn't know what to do at all.
Yeah.
It was only through the charity work and through the community work and stuff and through connecting with other athletes and, seeing that they're doing the same thing, that I really, grabbed some worth in myself and found other things to do. And it's also tough because I didn't have to work anymore. So I could just screw around every day. But when you don't know who you are and what you're doing and what your value is and why you're supposed to be doing stuff, then you get astray.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very difficult. I remember when I retired, I went through the same thing, like a deep depression, and I was talking to Ray Leonard about it, and he actually said when he retired, he went through the same thing. He was suicidal. He started doing cocaine. He started drinking, and I found talking to more and more fighters, I found that a lot of us end up down that path, and it's really sad because I think that I felt like I had prepared myself for retirement, but when it actually happened, I realized, wow, I was not ready for this, and it's still difficult, dealing with it. But I think that, one of the things that you were talking about was the public speaking, which I know helps a lot because you're helping others, and I think that's key is finding a purpose, and reaching out to other people. So, tell us about that because I found that I found both of your lives very interesting, and I didn't know.
Similar to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's weird because I didn't realize that you guys had such a hard life.
Yeah, I think that's why we got along really well. We're very common. I think we're literally cut from the same cloth.
Yeah,
literally, and it's kind of cool to see, and how he's came from his career of being retired and to catapulted into the public speaking stuff he's done. With me, I got to put on a totally different deal where it wasn't that I wanted to retire. I never wanted to retire. I got to a point in 2012 where I had to take care of my family. I got twin boys with Jenna Jameson, and I had to make a good decision that my mother had to make the same decision when I was 13 with my father, and took me away from my father because he couldn't get rid of his drug habit. Well, with my ex, she had a drug habit, and she couldn't get rid of it. So either you get sober or we're not going to be together anymore. And it lasted probably about 7 months, and I said, enough's enough. I retired. I wasn't done fighting, but I had to put my family together, and I did that. I got full custody of my kids, got a complete restraining order, and life has been normal. It's nice to have a normal life. And then I started fighting. I started dating Amber, that I've known for like 16 years. She was the first trading card girl, and she kind of came into my life as an angel, I think, just sent down, and she makes me become a better man. And I have worked hard to be where I am, but at the same time, I do it for my kids. Everything's for my kids, because I was a kid that didn't have a dad. My mom was there for me to save me away from my father, but I never had a father figure ever. And I missed out on so much as a kid of just knowing what a father figure was like. I always hung out with the older guys. We always drank and smoked weed with the older guys, the punk rockers. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
But then when I got to that point that I had to make that decision, I couldn't be selfish anymore. And I said, you know what, I'm going to retire. I'm retired, but I'm retire. I know I'm going to come back and fight. Just because I had the hunger. But that was because my life was so straight. My mind was right. There was no toxicity at all in our relationship. I found a girl who cared about me, who took care of me. It was like, I came home, she's like, do you need anything? I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
She goes, do you need anything? I'm like, I'm good, I'm cool. I've never had a girl say that to me. I've always been the guy to take care of somebody.
Yeah.
And I've learned this through through therapy, that Tito, stop trying to find a girl that you could save. Once you find a girl that could save you. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, let's see. So I did. I put my guard down, and I did, and I'm lucky. I'm really lucky, because I'm able to give my kids everything that I always wanted a kid.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I still fight right now, because I still have that hunger, because it's great to get in the gym. My body's not shutting down. My mind's right. I go to the gym and kill myself. I come back, and it's a happy house. My kids run out, Dad, jump on me and laughing. She's like, what do you want for dinner? And she's cooking dinner. I don't have nothing to worry about. It's like
That's
a normal family.
Huh?
It's a normal family.
Perfect. Exactly.
That's me and you. Yeah. I'm always like, how are you? What do you need?
I think all women should do that.
He's laughing. It's just so naughty.
It's not you that way, but you're good in so many other ways.
I mean, it's just one of those things, as a relationship, you should care about your partner enough to ask her if they're doing okay that day. I have a good partner, though, too. Amber is an amazing stepmother. She's awesome. I'm very fortunate. And I think Frank is actually in the same situation. I think as we have someone supportive in our lives, we thrive in it. It's just work harder.
And I met your wife, didn't I?
Amy, that's right.
At lunch at the
I knew I was going to marry her, because the first night that we hung out together, and I slept at her house, I got up, and she had put toothpaste on my toothbrush.
Wow.
While I was still sleeping. I came out, and I was like...
just like you, honey.
Man.
Just like me.
So she put toothpaste on
that's my job. I'm the daddy. So.
And I knew then I was going to marry her.
Toothpaste is my job.
Wow. How long ago was that?
18 years ago.
18 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's in Hollywood. Like, that's unheard of.
That's why I live out in Ventura.
That's why you left.
Yeah.
Now, Frank, you actually, I read, you are adopted.
Yes. Yeah, I was adopted when I was, I think I was actually...
I read that story.
20.
Yeah, you were 21.
When I was adopted, yeah.
See, I know more.
Yeah, you did. Because I
read about it,
I never thought my dad... I was adopted by Bob Shamrock, who I was in his group home in the Shamrock Boys Ranch.
Right.
And so, he called me his son, and there was always this implied that I was his son.
Right.
But I was never a son until the day he's like, I'm going to adopt you, and here's the papers. Wow. And it was after my first fight. Like, there was all these different unique things that happened in my life. And, it was after my first fight, and I was kind of like, I felt like I'd found myself. And then, the man who was guiding me and was my father, mentor, everything was like, you need this name, to complete what you're doing. And you need to be my son for real. And it just was like,
wow.
It was just powerful. Yeah, I knew my dad for 2 weeks when I was a kid. He just died this last year.
Wow.
He passed away from stomach cancer or something. And but I never knew. I never had a dad. I grew up like Tito. I group home dads, foster home dads, guys on the streets. But this was a man who saw me, loved me, and then just, made me his son. Made me work for it. Made me become a man to become his son. And those are the principles and things. Talk about character.
Yeah.
Bob didn't curse. He didn't drink. You couldn't tell a lie. That's how things were.
Yeah.
So that's how things are.
Right.
That's how I teach people, because that's how you become successful. Like, that's how you become a true, human being. And this man, for no other reason than I had a need, and he had the stuff. And the fact that he adopted me just changed my life. And that's what that's what I talk about on stage. It's like that one person could do that. If he hadn't did that for me, I wouldn't be a world champion. I wouldn't have gone on this journey. I wouldn't have, fought Tito, met Tito, beat Tito. Like, none of this stuff would have happened, unless that man stepped up.
Right.
You know,
and I think
to me is
that's
what a man
why
is.
it's so important. One thing I wanted to ask you guys is, like, I know Shane's come to me many times. Like, he's an amazingly talented person. And in boxing, he's extremely skilled and the martial arts. But I've always told him, like, I never want you to fight professionally, like, ever. Never. Because not just, I think the injuries, you know, that we sustain, like myself, like I can't even tell you how many surgeries I've had to put myself back together, but just the mental part of it. So is that something that you guys would ever let your own kids do?
So my agreement with my children is my son Jacob. He actually wrestles. He's been wrestling since he's been 6 years old, and he's varsity team. He says, "Dad, I want to fight," and he trains with Henry Cejudo, who's the world champion right now. And I said, "Here's our agreement. You get your master's degree, you can fight." And he said,
First.
"Really?" "Yeah, you get your master's degree and you could fight." "Okay, I'll take care of it all. You get your master's degree, you could fight." He goes, "Okay." But he doesn't realize that he'll be 24 years old by the time he gets his master's degree.
And he's not going to want to.
And then he's not going to want it because he'll get his business, because he's getting a business degree. So
He'll wise
understand
up.
it. Yeah, he'll wise up a little bit. But he's still tough. I mean, and now he has a goal. He has a goal that he knows what he needs to do.
Right.
And he works for that. He gets good grades. He wrestles hard. And after wrestling, he goes and does jiu-jitsu with Henry Cejudo and does kickboxing. And he does a lot of extra stuff, but he still works hard at school.
Right.
And I want him to get straight A's. And my twins, one's going to be a manager. He already says, "Dad, I do not want to be a fighter. I want to be a manager." And my one's all, "Dad, I want to be a professional WWE wrestler." That's like his goal. And I said, "Well, same thing goes to you. If you want to be a professional wrestler, you got to get your master's degree first."
Right.
He goes, "Really, Dad?" I go, "Yep." And then show you students once again. I mean, the kids work really hard. I try to give them goals and set their goals and beyond what they think they can do. Because when they do fail, I want them to come back to me and say, "Dad, how do I do this?" And teach them how to go over and over and over and over. I want them to fail a million times, just as long as they learn each and every one time.
Right.
One of those times they do it.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think it's important in just humanity. You have to be able to fail. Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Make a mistake, just knowing that you can do it again.
Yeah.
It's important. It's really important. I mean, I'm learning. I'm still learning. I mean, I'm 44 years old, and I'm still learning. Every day, I still challenge myself, and I try to do the right thing. I do the right thing. And that's important. I mean, there's 2 things I have for the rest of my life: my name and my word.
Right.
I won't tarnish my name for anything, and I'll keep my word for the rest of my life. It's important.
Yeah. And Frank, you have kids too, right?
Yeah, I got 2 kids, 20 years apart. One of them's 30. A little boy, little Frank, he's now 30.
Wow.
And
Is he a fighter?
no, I purposely did not put him in the martial arts. I taught him the martial arts. I brought him along, but I didn't want him to fight at the time. And specifically, there was no money, and it was a very dangerous and dirty sport. So I encouraged him to go to college and get an education and stuff like that. I think he, had the dream like most sons. With my daughter, it was different. It was 20 years later. I had retired, and I erased it all from my life. My daughter didn't know who I was until she went to about the 4th grade. And the boys started saying, "Do you know who your dad is?" Before that, I was just super crazy dad because I didn't have to work. So I was the nanny. I was the sitter. I was, I taught second grade PE. I was like super crazy and say no dad. Because also, with my son, I wasn't there during that time. I was traveling the world trying to, become a fighter. So I missed his youth. And then for me, I don't remember being a kid. All that has been erased from my mind. And I'm sure it's all the trauma that happened to me.
Right.
But I don't remember anything, before I was 8 years old and being locked in a closet. And that's the first memory of my life is this intense fear and trauma. And there's just nothing. So, for my own soul, I felt it was so important to go back and have a childhood, even if it wasn't mine, and then provide that for somebody else because I didn't know what it was. So it was an incredible and empowering healing experience for me. I was able to spend 8 years at home with my daughter and just watch a child grow and be influential and experience that. And it healed a part of me. That's what allowed me to get up on stage because before that, I wasn't ready to talk.
Right.
But healing my child, then, I was able to go out and help people.
Right.
Now I'm changing people's lives because I can talk about it. And before that, I couldn't. It was just too painful. It was too much.
And I'm going to assume that and tell me if I'm wrong, that both of you have experienced depression.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always after fights. Always after fights.
Same here.
Always after fights. Even when I win or I lose, it's. I think it's the training. I think it is the contusions to the head, being punched and sparring. I mean, my last fight, I really didn't get touched at all, but in sparring still, we sparred a lot. I sparred a lot for it because I was fighting Chuck. I mean, I lost him twice, and I was going to lose him 2 and 3 times. I didn't care if people say how slow he was or whatever. I was preparing for the world champion, and that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I didn't get touched. But after the fight was over, it was Christmas time, so I do have a bad remembrance of Christmas when I was a kid, but I just shut the doors, black out everything, just turn the TV on. I love just being in the room by myself. It's the weirdest thing. I could sit there for a day and do not do anything at all and just be shut out from anybody. But it's just another thing too, is I have to be on everywhere I go in public. Because people who know who I am, and they always want to ask for pictures. They always have a question. When are you fighting next? Who are you fighting next? Congratulations on your last fight. Just crazy things all the time. I mean, I got to be on. So when it's time to unplug, it's nice just to go home and unplug. And
how do you deal with depression?
Well, I found another thing. It's called a CVAC machine. It's in Ascent Adaptation in Newport Beach, and it simulates altitude, and it pushes me in pressure up to 25,000 feet. And it clears my mind a lot. It helps a lot. It helps a whole bunch. I've used that a lot before and actually before all my fights and after the fights. Because any type of swelling on my head, any type of swelling on my face, I go through about 4 sessions of that, and the swelling's completely gone.
Wow.
I mean, it helps a lot. I mean, talking to people, of course, reaching out. Don't be afraid to reach out. You got to reach out. Yeah. It comes that serious where you have to reach out. I mean, kind of a point when I was like, should I be retired or shouldn't I be retired? And I was like, you know what? Let me call the man who did it at 43 and became the world champion. Hey, Randy, go tour.
Wow.
Should this be the right thing? And it made me positive. It made me a motivation in my mind of going, yeah, let's give it a try. And I think it's just staying positive. Don't let a negative mentality take over your mind, because once it does, it'll take over your whole body.
Yeah.
And that's in all areas, not just fighting, in life in general. Yeah. The people you're around, who you surround yourself with is who. I learned as a young age, who you surround yourself with is who you become.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I thought I was going to be a pro wrestler. I thought I was going to be a Hulk Hogan. That was my idea. But by chance, I started fighting. It was luck. I watched a guy who I wrestled in high school, Jerry Bolander, who was a guy that trained with Frank. Did you ever train with Jerry?
I was his teacher.
He was a teacher, yep.
I was everyone's teacher.
Yeah, he was a master. And I wrestled him in high school, and he won in the UFC. And I was like, At that time, I trained with Tank Abbott, and I was his wrestling partner. I was like, I wonder if I could try this. And how would I do? I fought UFC 13 for free. I was
wow.
Yeah, I was an amateur wrestler, so I couldn't compete professionally, or I'd lose my scholarship for wrestling. So I said, you know what, hell with it, I'll do it just for fun. Let's do it for fun. So I fought for free, and I could have collected $25,000 that night, and I didn't.
Wow.
It was what it was. But I learned, like I said, I found something that I fell in love with, and it was the attention. Because I was a kid who never had attention. Yeah. It was like all of a sudden, people who cared about me. I was like, this is pretty cool. And the harder I worked, the better I became. Yeah. And then I fought Frank, and I lost to him, and I was like, I can be a world champion. And then he left, and I fought for the vacant world title against Vanderlei Silva, beat him, and it changed my life. It was like, it made me believe in myself. It made me believe that I can do it. Because there were so many times that people told me in my whole life that I was a piece of shit and I couldn't achieve anything in life. Yeah. They told me I was going to do it. Like, no way. Right? The first time I fought against Jerry Bolander, friends were like, dude, you're not going to beat him. Why would you fight him? Watch me beat him. And of all my fights, if I thought like that, I would do really, really well. And I thought that same thing against Frank. I'm going to smash this guy. And the more I smashed him, the more energy he got. I was like, what the hell is going on?
I have to Google this fight.
It was one of the best fights in UFC history.
It's the first rub-a-dub ever. Yeah, it's the first rub-a-dub ever.
Oh,
it was.
Did you guys ever have a rematch?
Nah.
He wouldn't
He's
do
too
it.
big.
He wouldn't do it.
Because I showed him all the secrets and he would kick my ass afterwards. Of course.
Thank you.
I'm incredibly intelligent, besides good looking and a good fighter.
He actually is. He is very, very smart.
We don't share that first part.
Did you always want that? The rematch?
Yeah, I did. I did for almost a half a year. And then he was like, no, we're not doing it, no way. And then that's how I fought Vanderlei Silva. And then when he signed with Strikeforce, and I was thinking about re-signing with a different company. And I said to him, he's like, "You're crazy. Look how big you are. You're like a monster. You're big. You're big.
Three people larger than me. It's insane.
The same weight category.
No, because he fought at 190. He fought at 190. I fought at 190. 190.
199.9.
Yeah, 199.9.
You look like you don't look that big.
I weigh 186 pounds is my natural body weight.
And he was 193 when we fought.
I was 193 is the biggest I've ever been.
And then when it was fight time, I was about 217 when it was fight time.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's normal for me. Right now, normal fight weight for me is 225. I'll go from 225 down to 205, and I'll be 225 fight time.
Okay, so what do you guys have coming up? And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rifkin he wants to talk mouthpieces, which I know is so important. How many of us have had our teeth damaged by our fighting careers?
None.
Never had damage?
I've had the same person to make my mouthpiece since 2005.
Wow. These are real, but they've been broken.
These two, because I broke one of them in half when I was a kid. I fell off my bike.
Okay.
And then I just got the other one so they'd match perfect. So just these two.
But you never injured them in fighting?
Never. So the mouthpiece I have.
Never once.
So the mouthpiece I have, it's actually a mold infit on very top first. And then the bottom one is just an imprint of my bottom teeth. So when I locked down, it literally there's probably like a half an inch movement. So it's kind of squishy.
Wow.
Squishy, yeah.
Yeah. Because I fought, who was it? Me?
Sorry.
Did I go through that housekeeping? Phone's off.
That is great.
No, I fought Yuki Kano in Japan, defending my world title. And he hit me with the flying knee. I went to go shoot at the same time, and he hit me with the flying knee. And I thought I was knocked out. It hit me and made me do a backflip, and I bounced back up to my feet.
I was there.
Yeah.
And I locked onto him. And I guess I said, this is John McCarthy said that I go, is that all you have? And I squeezed and I body locked him to the ground, and I smashed him and I choked him quick. But it was from that mouthpiece, because it literally absorbed everything. Like, I got the hit straight up and absorbed everything.
So it's really amazing that you haven't been injured, but I think the fact that you have a mouth guard is so important. So I can't imagine any athlete, any kid, not having a properly fitting mouth guard. I think that the over-the-counter mouth guards are better than nothing, but they're junk. You have to have them made so that it fits you precisely, comfortably, so you can breathe. So it goes up underneath your lip so you don't get the edge cutting your lip from getting hit outside. And if your jaw is braced in the back, and interested to know about you, Frank, too, as well. If your jaw is braced in the back, then the joints, like in here, I like to show this skull. You guys probably know this. You know the anatomy. You're the nerd, right? Okay, the geek. So you got to have that jaw back, that temporomandibular joint back. Because if it's forward, if you make a mouth guard with your bite with the mouthpiece forward, and you get hit in the side, you have less bracing. And probably neurological science, neuromuscular science will show you that your strength can be impeded by not having your jaw in the right position. So does that work for you guys? You guys live it.
You explained exactly what I was explaining when I got my first mouthpiece. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Because when I wrestled in college, we'd have mouthpieces, and we'd go buy the ones that you go and drop in the hot water.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was like, when I fought Frank, I think that was like one of the mouthpieces that I had. Was you just drop the water and just bite down, and hopefully it stayed in your mouth.
Yeah.
But then as I came to learn how they have them wrapping over the gum, like it'll wrap literally over the gum, and it'll, as you said, push the jaw backwards, or keeps it tight, keeps it blocked, so when you do get hit, it's not that bad at all.
Well, I made this one for me because when I first met Mia and I knew she was a boxer, I figured, shit, I better...
Smart.
You better bite down.
Right.
He wears it to bed.
I wear it to bed, especially if we get in an argument. We're getting an argument? Wait a minute. Put this thing in.
It's like a suction cup.
Exactly. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of injuries avoided from that. And Frank, how about any injuries to your mouth?
No, I've been super lucky.
Don't get hit, right?
I don't get hit, number one. And then number two, I know the science. So I was like, this thing's a handle. You shake the handle, anything in the T-zone is going to shake the brain. So I went, I pursued the best of the best and tried to get, the most protective humanly possible, and then find out the science behind it. And then conversely, like if you see me fight and you watch the Tito fight, you'll see how big my neck is. And what's happening there is what I can't get rid of, I'm absorbing in my neck column.
Exactly.
And my brain is concussed and getting damaged, but there's absorption tools, and that's the reason why my neck was so big. I was just never big enough. So if a big guy hit me,
He'd always use his forehead.
Yeah.
He'd lead
if I can't get out of the way, you're going to hit the thickest area of my skull, and you're going to hurt your hand. I mean, Tito's hands were jacked from hitting me in the head so much.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, I'm getting hit in the head.
I know about that defensive technique. It's like,
That's all there was back in the day, bro.
Hey, listen, well, look at me. I'm just
I hit him with an elbow, and he cut on top of his forehead, and I got his, like, there was nothing saying that you couldn't dig a cut. I was trying to dig in his cut with my thumb.
Digging his
and I was trying to rip the cut open.
Stretching it open.
I was trying to stretch it open. I was trying to make it worse so they could stop the fight. I was like, man, I'm almost gassed right now. I was like a bird.
Hurry, stop the fight. Let him make him bleed more.
It was literally like, last man survived. That's what was in my mind. It was just the last man survived.
That was cornerman advice. That was John Lober. He's John Lober. No, dude, you can hear it on the tape, bro.
No, I'll stand for him. He did not. I did that all on my own.
Oh my God.
I just remember looking at a cut in his head. I was like, make it bigger.
He goes,
that was cheap, Tito.
I'm like, you dirty bastard. I'm yelling at him and I'm yelling at John. It was good times.
That is so funny. I can't wait to Google that fight.
Yeah, it's funny.
Me too.
Okay, so Frank, what do you have coming up?
I am speaking next and teaching next bare knuckle boxing for Green Table Investment Fund in Aspen, Colorado, which will be in a couple of weeks. Speaking on behalf of cannabis, we've raised $100 million. We're looking to make some acquisitions and roll up in the cannabis space. And then the next day, I'm teaching all of the investors my bare knuckle boxing program, which is part of my Warriors Code, which is part of the executive leadership program that I'm teaching to Google and a bunch of other large corporations.
Wow. And where can we find you?
I'm at Frank Shamrock everywhere.
Okay. And your website?
Everywhere.
FrankShamrock.com. I'm everywhere.
And Tito, what do you have coming up? Where can we find you?
Well, of course, you can find me on the internet, Tito Ortiz on Twitter, Tito Ortiz 19.
No, where can we find you? Like,
what do you find?
Where's your home?
What's your address? Can you state your address?
Zip code.
Everybody knows that.
Dude, we're stalked now. He's got enough paparazzi, right?
Can you drop a pin?
No, that's the funny thing. Actually, paparazzi used to come to my house, and I warned them to come to my house. And they said, what, do you threaten me? And I go, no, I'm promising you, do not come to my house.
Not a threat.
They never came back. They never came back again. And on Instagram, Tito Ortiz 1989. Of course, born and raised Huntington Beach. Things that are coming up because speaking engagement, I believe, in Arizona for young Latino. To give back. Kind of the hard things that we go through as young American Latinos that we get challenged for, and different sides you try to pick, and you try to pick the right side. But I try to say the right things and do it politically correct. I'm not too politically correct, so I think that's my problem. I'm honest. And I say it the way it is, and people don't like the truth sometimes. But it's just one of those things. I'm excited. This is my first speaking engagement that I've done.
Congratulations.
I used to do them back in 2006, but I did them for mortgage companies, and I did the same thing of teamwork and so forth, of how the people you're training behind you or training with you, how much better they can make, and just different things that I talked about doing that. Of course, when I went to Iraq, speaking to the troops, you give them 30 minutes to an hour of their time. All of a sudden, they feel like they're not in Iraq. I feel like they're back at home.
Yeah. So, honey, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me at drlawrencerifkin.com. I'm on Instagram at drlawrencerifkindds, and I'm right here.
And Shane, where do we find you? Oh, that's right. This is Dr. Rifkin's office.
Oh, okay.
Right here, man.
That's all right.
Shane, where'd all the honeys find you?
Oh, they can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ShaneVanPeebles.com.
And I'm at Mia St. John Boxer. Thank you guys.
Yes, no, thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
The thing you started, that I got an opportunity to come to, that was amazing. Helping guys like this guy, man, coming up, right? Working hard, brother.